Hi, everyone. I got a request from a colleague of mine when we were talking about things that we struggle with or wanting to help others on. And this was the question that he asked was, he gets the question a lot of times, how do you go about implementing a methodology? And that could be any kind of methodology. And so what I want to do here is really, I'm going to kind of give you my thoughts because I think there's all sorts of stuff here and there's a there's a lot of stuff out there in terms of change management and everybody else. So let me share with you what jumps out at me organically. I think number one, we have to learn the methodology ourselves so we can understand it and share the concepts with others. I think we also need to study it and know its nuances and where it works and where it doesn't work. And we probably need to apply it as well in a situation so we can have stories to share with other people on what we went through and lessons learned, et cetera. And then I think we get comfortable with it, at a point we can start passing it on to others. I think there's a second part to implementing any methodology as well, is I think you and I guess for lack of a better metaphor, I'm going to call it north on the compass. We need to be able to articulate to people where we're going and why and how. And this is traditional change management work. And one of the, there's tons of books out there and materials, and they're all legitimate and they all have lots of common themes. I think you get out there and you look at and figure out what your style of leadership and change is. Myself, I've really loved the work of John Kotter and Leading Change. And I know he also wrote a book the last couple of years called Accelerate, which talks about how you can implement it as well in large companies and work on it in parallel paths. So I think we got to know where north on the compass is. I think we also need to know, hey, we're down here at the bottom. We're trying to get up to here on top. What's the boundaries of behavior, whatever we got to operate within? And so, that might be something like, well, however we get from X to Y, we want to make sure we do what's right, do your best, treat others the way you want to be treated, etc. So what are those rails that you want to put out there that we got to operate within people? Okay, I think we do that. Then we also find out what's going to be our management style. So I was fortunate to work for a company called Rail Precision here in Minnesota. They're a clutch manufacturer, and they always talked about the idea of TET versus PDC. And TET was teach, equip, and trust versus plan, direct, and control. And we always were challenged to think what's the right way to go in the right situation. So PDC, plan, direct, control, made sense when it's a brand new group. I might have to do a little bit more directing, but eventually I want to teach people and equip them and trust them to do the job. And so I think there's a style question you have to ask for yourself how you're going to go about things. And then for myself, at least, what I find works often well in my case is I'll get other folks involved and I'll lay out this conversation. Hey, here's where I'd like to see us go because of these things on the, that I learned on the left, and here's what I did with it. How do you think we ought to get from X to Y? And I'd work with the group. What would you do? And let's facilitate moving them in that direction, because if half the challenge is getting buy-in from folks and understanding, let's engage them, let's get involved. This gets back to all the empowerment stuff, but I don't have any hesitation to go out to other people and say, I'm not the expert, here's what I saw, I think this helps us. Let's talk about how we get there and let folks fundamentally jump in and take over, and I'll facilitate the conversations. I think that's the greatest, ownership at all. So I think that's my reaction to the whole thing. Of course, there's the usual metrics and project plans you got to put together and budgets and things like that. I think that goes without saying. But I think it starts on a couple of levels. Is whatever that methodology is, number one, you've got to learn it and apply it. Number two, you've got to be thinking about how you want to do change management. Number three, I think you got to figure out how you want to operate. And then four, figure out what those rails are. And then, get together with the group and open it up and let them start helping you build it. And I think that's how we go about implementing a methodology.